She held 4 championship points. She was one swing away from her first WTA title, and then, in the blink of an eye, it all slipped away. July 2025, Eastbourne, the final of the WTA 250 tournament. Alex Eala was just 20 years old, and she was on the verge of history. 4 times she stood on the brink of victory. 4 times she watched it slip through her fingers. Maya Joint, the Australian teenager, saved every championship point, clawed her way back, and stole the title in a dramatic 6-4, 1-6, 7-6, 12-10 victory. Now, at Wimbledon, the ghosts of Eastbourne have come back to life. Eala stormed into the second round with a dominant 6-1, 6-2 victory over Renata Zarazua. Joint stunned the tennis world by defeating the legendary Serena Williams in a late-night center court thriller, 6-3, 6-7, 6-6, 6-3. The stage is set for a rematch that nobody saw coming. A battle between 2 rising stars, 2 friends, 2 rivals who know each other's games intimately. And she held 4 championship points. She was one swing away from her first WTA title. And then, in the blink of an eye, it all slipped away. July 2025, the seaside town of Eastbourne, England, the final of the WTA 250 tournament. Alex Eala was just 20 years old, and she was on the verge of history. It was the youngest final at the Lexus Eastbourne Open in more than 4 decades. She had already made history by becoming the first Filipina to reach a WTA singles final, one match away from a breakthrough that would announce her arrival on the biggest stage in tennis. The crowd was behind her, the momentum was hers, she could taste victory. 4 times she stood on the verge of glory, 4 championship points, 4 chances to close out the match, 4 swings of the racket that would change everything. And 4 times, Maya Joint refused to go away. The 19-year-old Australian, ranked outside the top 80, had no business being in this position. She had fought through the qualifiers just to reach the main draw. She had battled past higher-ranked opponents to reach the final. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And gain she did. Joint saved every championship point. She clawed her way back from the brink of defeat. She forced a 3rd set. She pushed Eala to the limits of her endurance. And when the final point landed, after 2 hours and 52 minutes of grueling tennis, it was the Australian who emerged victorious. The final score? 6-4, 1-6, 7-6, 12-10. In the deciding tiebreak, Joint held her nerve, while Eala's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. The Filipina had come agonizingly close to her first WTA title. She had held 4 championship points. She had been one swing away from history. But tennis is a cruel sport. It doesn't care about how close you came. It only remembers who won. Eala walked off the court in tears. She had given everything she had. She had fought until her legs gave out. She had come within inches of a dream and watched it slip away. I had a really great match with Maya last year, so I'd love to have the chance to improve on some things that I could have improved from that match, she would say a year later. Those words, spoken with the calm of someone who had processed her pain, masked the fire that had been burning inside her ever since. The ghost of Eastbourne had followed her for an entire year, every practice, every match, every moment of doubt. She had replayed those 4 championship points in her mind 1,000 times. She had wondered what she could have done differently. She had vowed that if she ever got another chance, she wouldn't let it slip away. Now at Wimbledon, that chance had arrived.
If the Eastbourne final was Eala's lowest moment, the months that followed were her redemption. She didn't let the heartbreak define her. She didn't let the loss break her spirit. Instead, she channeled her pain into something far more powerful: determination. The grass court season of 2026 began with a statement. At the Birmingham Open, a WTA 125 event, Eala put the disappointment of a first-round exit at the French Open firmly behind her. She bulldozed through the draw, dropping just one set in 5 matches. In the final, she faced her former doubles partner Nikola Bartunkova, a Czech player, a nation against whom Eala had never won a professional match. The weight of that 0-12 record hung over her. The match was a war. Bartunkova took the first set 7-5. Eala responded with a crucial break at 3-2 to claim the second set 6-3. The decider was razor thin. Eala saved 3 break points, and when a long ball from Bartunkova landed out, the title was hers. 5-7, 6-3, 7-5. A 2-hour, 38-minute battle. Her first career grass court title. Her second WTA 125 crown. It was a really tight moment, Eala reflected, and I knew that if I didn't go for it, Nikki would go for it. It's one of those days where a little bit of luck and intention was what got me through. The victory shattered more than a Czech curse. It opened the gates wide. Eala earned 76 ranking points, climbing 4 places to world number 33, and in her post-match speech, she turned to the Filipino fans who had braved the rain-hit week, Kaya Minga Kababayan, maraming salamat sa suporta. But she was just getting started. Next came Berlin. Eala entered the WTA 500 tournament as a wild card and a debutante. Nobody expected much. She was facing some of the biggest names in tennis, players who had won Grand Slams, players who had been ranked in the top 10, players who had been playing on grass for years. In the first round, she faced Dana Vekic, the Croatian who had just captured the Queen's Club title the week before. Vekic arrived in Berlin late on Sunday night after her triumph in London. Eala said
The dream showdown with Serena Williams had vanished into the London night. In its place stood a 20-year-old Australian who had just done the unthinkable. Maya Joint had no business being on center court. At least that's what the rankings suggested. She had entered Wimbledon ranked number 87 in the world. She had lost her last 11 matches heading into the tournament. A back injury had derailed her entire season. She had won just 1 match since January. And standing across the net was the greatest champion the sport had ever seen. Serena Williams, 23-time Grand Slam winner, 7-time Wimbledon champion, a woman who had won 98 matches at the All England Club, a woman who had not played a singles match in nearly 4 years, 1,396 days since the 2022 U.S. Open, a woman who had accepted a wild card into Wimbledon, hoping to write one final chapter in her legendary career. The center court crowd was overwhelmingly behind Williams. They chanted her name, they roared with every winner, they willed her to victory. Joint knew the crowd would favor the legend. She had prepared herself for it. But she refused to be intimidated. "I always dreamed about playing Serena Williams," Joint had said before the match. "If you'd told me 10 years ago that I'd be playing her first round at Wimbledon, that's just crazy." The match was an epic. Williams, 44 years old, showed flashes of the brilliance that had defined her career. Her serve was still a weapon, clocking speeds over 120 miles per hour. Her ground strokes were still explosive. Her fighting spirit was still unbreakable. She saved a match point in the second set tiebreak. She led by a break in the deciding set. She was 1 step away from becoming the oldest woman to win a singles match at Wimbledon in more than 20 years. But Joint refused to fold. "I don't think I have quite..." The crowd on court 1 was electric. A sea of red, white, and blue stretched across the stands. Filipino flags waved in every section. The roar was deafening. July 2nd, 2026, the day had finally arrived. Alex Eala walked onto the court with the weight of 365 days on her shoulders. 1 year, 4 championship points, 1 heartbreak that had refused to fade. Every practice, every match, every moment of doubt had been building toward this moment. She had replayed those 4 points in her mind 1,000 times. She had wondered what she could have done differently. She had vowed that if she ever got another chance, she wouldn't let it slip away. Standing across the net was Maya Joint, the 20-year-old Australian who had stolen victory from her grasp, the qualifier who had no business being in that Eastbourne final, the woman who had just done the unthinkable, beaten Serena Williams on center court, 6-3, 6-7, 6-3, in 2 hours and 22 minutes. Joint had ended Williams' singles comeback after 1,396 days away from the sport. She had saved a match point in the second set tiebreak. She had regrouped from a breakdown in the third, and now she was riding a wave of momentum that had the entire tennis world talking. "I don't know what to say," Joint had said after her victory. "I don't know what just happened." But Eala knew exactly what had happened. The ghost of Eastbourne had been resurrected, and this time she was ready. From the very first point, it was clear this would be no ordinary match. Eala came out firing. Her ground strokes were precise, her movement was fluid, her confidence was unshakable. She had dismantled Renata Zarazua in the first round, 6-1, 6-2, becoming the first Filipina in the Open era to win a Wimbledon singles main draw match. She had earned her place on this court. She was determined to write a different ending. But Joint refused to go quietly. She had beaten Serena Williams on center court. She had saved 4 championship points against Eala a year earlier. She knew exactly how to make the Filipina uncomfortable. She extended rallies. She forced errors. She made Eala work for every single point. The first set was a war. The second set was even more brutal. Both players refused to give an inch. Every point was a battle. Every game was a test of wills. The crowd roared with every winner. The Filipino flags waved with every point. The tension was unbearable. And then, in the decisive moments, Eala did something she couldn't do a year ago. She held on. She didn't let the lead slip away. She didn't let the ghost of Eastbourne haunt her. She stepped up, delivered when it mattered most, and closed out the match. When the final point landed, the stadium erupted. Filipino flags waved frantically. Tears flowed. Hugs were shared. The final point had been won. The crowd had erupted. The tears had flowed. But as the celebration on Court 1 began to fade, the weight of what had just happened began to sink in. Alex Eala had done what she couldn't do a year ago. She had held on. She had written a different ending. She had exorcised the ghost of Eastbourne once and for all. The victory over Maya Joint was more than just a win. It was a statement, a declaration that the girl who had cried in Eastbourne was now a woman who could conquer the biggest stage in tennis. It was proof that she had grown, matured, and learned from the bitterest defeat of her career. Eala had made history at the All England Club. Before this year, she had never won a main draw match at Wimbledon. Now, she had won 2 in a single tournament, becoming the first Filipina in the Open era to reach the 3rd round at the All England Club. The milestone was historic, but it was also deeply personal. The rivalry with Joint was far from over. 2 players, 2 nations, 2 dreams colliding on the biggest stage in tennis. A battle that would be remembered long after the grass had faded. But this time, Eala had written a different ending. "I had a really great match with Maya last year, so I'd love to have the chance to improve on some of the things that I could have improved from that match," she had said before the match. Those words were more than just a statement. They were a declaration, a promise that she would never let history repeat itself, and she had kept that promise. But the victory was about something far deeper than revenge. It was about the lesson she had learned from the bitterest defeat of her career. It was about the journey that had brought her here, the early mornings at the Rafa Nadal Academy, the lonely hours on practice courts, the sacrifices her family had made, the unwavering support of a nation that had adopted her as their own. The sea of red, white, and blue had been with her every step of the way. Thousands of Filipino fans had traveled thousands of miles to witness history. They had waved their flags, they had chanted her name, they had believed in her when no one else did. The Filipinos, we have such a strong sense of community. I feel like when one of us does well, or one of us is succeeding, we all have that shared sense of pride. That sense of pride was on full display at Court 1. The roar of the crowd, the sea of flags, the tears of joy. It wasn't just a tennis match, it was a celebration of everything the Philippines had achieved through this remarkable young woman. Now, the challenge awaiting Eala was formidable. In the 3rd round, she was scheduled to face Iga Swiatek, the 5-time Grand Slam champion and world number 1. The two would split their career meetings, with Eala stunning the Polish star in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Miami Open before Swiatek returned the favor at the Mutua Madrid Open. The rematch was set for July 4th. But that was a battle for another day. For now, Eala had done what she set out to do. She had proven that she could learn from her mistakes. She had shown the world that she was ready for anything. She had carried the hopes of 115 million people on her shoulders, and she had delivered. The ghost of Eastbourne had been laid to rest. A new chapter had begun, and Alex Eala was just getting started.